Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today, before we start class, I do have some exciting news to share with everybody. I have officially launched a website, fantasyfictionfanatics.net, that is in conjunction with this channel, and it is going to be a blog. So far, if you go there, I have the website all set up. It's all ready for you to look at, but there isn't really much there at this point. I only have my one introductory post since I've just launched it, but I thought I'd let you know that it is out there if you want to go ahead and take a look, see what's on there at the moment, what's going to be coming soon, and get some more information on there. I hope you will check it out and see it. I worked really hard on it, so I hope you guys like it. And I just really thought that it would be a great place to have more of a laid-back interaction with you. Here we have more of a class style or lecture style, I guess you could say, videos and classes on fantasy fiction, going in depth with either characters, writing, whatever book we're on. And so I really wanted to have more of a laid-back, fun way to interact with you, and that I'm going to try and do through the blog. So I'm really hoping to do things like reviews for books, and that'll cover all kinds of fantasy, urban fantasy, epic fantasy. I'm going to do paranormal romance on there. I think that'd be really fun for all of you out there who are just like me and enjoy fantasy romance. I'm going to do like top 10 lists. I'm going to try and do maybe a little bit more of other types of fantasy fiction, like movies, television shows, talking about adaptions and, movies versus books. I know we've done a little bit on here when we talk about our characters, like how the character is in the movie versus how the character is in the book. But I'd like to go a little bit more into that with the blog. Any other suggestions of types of posts you would like to see on there, or opinions you'd like from me that you think would be fun to look at, you're always welcome to make those suggestions and let me know, so that way I can give that content to you as well. So yeah, I'm hoping in the next couple days to get out my first official post, like of actual content. So go ahead and look forward to seeing that soon. And let me know what you think of the website. Let me know if you think there's anything that I'm missing or anything that you'd like to see. And again, anything that you would like me to post or to comment on, go ahead and let me know either down below. You can contact me through the website now. There's a contact form under the About Me page, or on Twitter as always. So just get a hold of me and let me know what you think or what you'd like to see, and I'd be happy to do that with you and continue, as always, to learn with you. And yeah, I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm really excited about it. So let me know what you think. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on to the content of today. So let's go ahead and start off with our recap as always. So this is for chapters 9 through 12 of Mercy Thompson's Bloodbound. That's what we're going to be covering today, in case I didn't mention it earlier. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with that recap. There's actually quite a lot that happens that's important in these 4 chapters. We really have gotten the ball rolling quite quickly, and we're really seeing her progress through what's going to be happening in these chapters. So we start off with Mercy gathering information by going to Stefan's and talking to his people, or I guess you could say his sheep that live there, and getting more information on vampires and what kind of creatures they are, how they are, the rules that their condition makes them follow, and what kind of weaknesses they have, what is known for, how to kill them, because obviously Littleton is also a vampire, so it's important to know for her how she's going to be able to deal with this situation with this creature, what kind of limitations he's going to have if he's following the vampiric nature portion. So she visits his people, talks to them, and she learns a whole bunch that she didn't know about vampires. And then Littleton later that night attacks her house. He can't come into her house, so he completely destroys the outside of the house and taunts her, and even speaks in Samuel's voice, which makes her wonder how he knows Sam's voice. Mercy goes ahead the next morning and visits Warren and discovers that both Adam and Samuel have probably been captured because they are missing. Mercy then goes and stops by her shop where Mrs. Hannah is early, and that strikes her as odd, and when she asks about it, Hannah says that somebody told her that she should be early on her rounds. So instead of going at her normal time, she left early. She ends up talking to Mr. Black, and he's thanking her about the recommendation and that he's going to go ahead and send his daughter to Bran. And while he's on the phone, she asks if he could look into Littleton, which he says that he will do that for her. Z ends up loaning Mercy a vampire killing kit, vampire staking kit, I guess you could say. And she is called to help Warren right afterward, and discovers that she has pack status and is able to calm Warren down, since technically being considered Adam's mate, she is the highest level of werewolf at the moment. So Warren follows her and calms down. Again, Mercy continues to look. This is a lot of her trying to figure things out, trying to figure out where Littleton is, wondering what she's supposed to do to find Littleton, what she's going to do once she does find Littleton. So she continues to look around and ends up visiting Stefan's place again in order to get even more information, in hopes that she can finally find Littleton. And Tony, working with the police and Tony asking questions, ends up helping her out in the fact that he has discovered that a pattern, and that all of the criminal activity that he's noticed is popping up starting around the police station. So it is centered around the police station and working its way outward from there. And Mrs. Hannah gives her the last clue that she needs by telling her what ghost it was that told her she needed to bump up her schedule early, which leads her to find where Littleton is hiding. She goes there, finds Adam and Stefan and Ben all locked down in the basement of the church the abandoned church that he is living in, and goes with Andre there. This is, of course, right after she finds out that Andre did know Littleton before he came and before he was a vampire. So her and Andre have gone here. She already knows his background. They find them in the basement, and Littleton comes in and basically knocks Mercy out and hurts her really badly. And we kind of leave us off there, wondering what's going to happen, how she's going to defeat him with everybody else locked up at this point, or if she's going to, since she hasn't had a very good start. So yeah, there's our recap for this set of chapters. So we're at an interesting point where we've got a lot of information, like I said, in a small amount of time. So there's quite a bit to talk about. But the first thing I kind of want to talk about is character goals. Obviously, as we're reading, as readers, it's important to know a character's goals, just as, any person has a goal. And when we have conflict, you have to find out what kind of goals each character is working toward in order to understand their contribution or what they're doing in the story. So there's three main characters here that I really want to look at the goals for. And the first one is Marcella. Because Marcella's the one that sends Mercy after Littleton. Obviously, she gives her the help of Andre, and obviously she has reasons to believe that Mercy will actually be able to defeat Littleton. But Mercy doesn't really know anything about vampires. Marcella doesn't tell her anything about vampires to help her out. She doesn't set her up to be successful other than giving her Andre, and Andre's not really doing anything except for what's asked. So why does Marcella send somebody who doesn't even really understand her own nature of being a walker and doesn't know anything about vampires after a vampiric demon that captured her best soldier, which would be Stefan? She wants to capture Littleton, not to kill him. Her goal is to capture, if at all possible. She says that, to Mercy, dead or alive, obviously do what you gotta do. But it is revealed to us that really she wants to capture Littleton if possible, hoping to use him and be able to get him under her control. She doesn't actually think that Mercy will be able to accomplish the goal she has set for her. So her goal is thinking that, hey, I'm just going to use Mercy to find Littleton because I believe that you can get to the point where you'll be able to locate where he's at, and then Marcilla will be able to come in and do what she wants with him. And she believes that taking over Littleton is going to give her back more control over her seeds and possibly get her in better graces to go back to Italy. Because that's really, at this point, we know that Marcilla has been kicked out and used to be the main vampire's right hand. She used to be in bed with him, and now she's been kicked out and disgraced, and that's one thing that she really wants to get back, is the disgrace that she has been dealt. She wants to have erased and to have her position back, essentially. So Marcilla's goals are very different than Mercy's, and that's obviously apparent because Mercy is a different kind of person than Marcilla. But Marcilla's really just manipulating Mercy in order to get to Littleton. She just wants Littleton to be found and doesn't believe that anything else will be accomplished. It's not really stated, not really seen for sure, but I don't think that Marcilla would be mad either if Littleton killed Mercy, since she's not a big fan of Mercy. So there's also that. And then we've got Mercy's goals. So Mercy, in conjunction with Marcilla, wants to find Littleton. And sorry if there's any background noise, the dogs are kind of excited in the house. So if you hear any barking, I apologize in advance. So she does want to find Littleton just like Marcilla does. That's 100% certain. And then, on a different note than Marcilla, Mercy just wants to kill Littleton. She doesn't want him to be around anymore. She already thinks that vampires are dangerous enough. We don't need a demon that can, one that's also a sorcerer, so that way he can just do whatever he wants and get away with anything and just be killing people. Mercy is very much about protecting people, and so she is not okay with Littleton being in existence. So she doesn't want Marcilla to use Littleton at all. She wants to be done and rid of Littleton forever. And she wants to get back Adam, Stefan, Ben, Sam, all of the people that were taken. She wants to rescue them. So she's got 3 main goals. Obviously, she doubts the fact that she could actually kill Littleton, even though she does have her vampire hunting pack. Since she's just a wolf, she never sees herself as having very cool of powers, never sees herself even as equal as a werewolf. So she would like to kill Littleton. She's not certain that she can do so, but her goal is to kill him if at all possible. So we see 2 different similar but different goals going on. We see Mercy's goal and we see Marcilla's, and they kind of line up enough that they're making a team, at least enough for Marcilla to make a team of it, but they also have very different end games at this point. And of course, then we have our third player, which is Andre. And Andre, we find out, has made Littleton. We don't know exactly his point-by-point plan of what he was going to do with Littleton, but we do know that in the end, he wanted power. Because what else can Littleton provide him other than power? And it's very, very possible that he wants to take over the Seath. That's something that Mercy has considered. So his goal is just to use Littleton in order to give himself power, which has not worked out for him so far. Now, has it? So we see Andre's failed goal at this point of being able to control a power that would give him more power, if that makes sense. And so those are the main goals that are progressing this set of chapters. Again, sorry if there's a lot more background noise. I do hear my roommates out there. So we'll just have to bear through it for today. So there's 3 different characters that have different motivations that are pushing forward these chapters. Mercy is obviously our main character, but she's not the only person that is affecting the continuation of events. We have Andre's trying to reach his goal, and so he's doing different things or having different motivations in order to help Mercy. And Marcella has different motivations of helping Mercy along. So all 3 of these people have goals that are progressing our plot forward, and I feel like the goals are really centralize the motion or the direction that this story is going at this point. Alright, so now let's talk about vampires. Vampires are a very big portion of this book, since that's the whole point, is that we're having problems with the vampires. And Mercy originally knows not a whole bunch about vampires. Obviously, she's friends with Stefan and she knows some about vampires, but she doesn't know in-depth information. So a lot of these chapters are about her gathering information so that way she can stop Littleton. So we really learn and really world build how vampires work in this story. So we're really making a clarity of like, this is this particular world that has vampires and werewolves, and we know what our werewolves are like. Now we're defining this is what vampires are like in this world, and really making a more crystal clear view of what kind of rules this world works within. So we've got that the vamps are originally slaves of their changer, or whoever makes them a vampire, they are enslaved to that person for a while. Obviously, they eventually grow out of that. They are always kind of connected to the person who originally changed them, but there's no longer that exact link where they have to always obey every rule. Stefan is, we find out, the only person that seems to have been changed without feeling that urge to ever obey his mistress. He just chooses to obey Marcella and is a loyal person to her regardless, even from the beginning and even now. So that's pretty interesting. That's not always in every folklore about vampires, but it is in this particular one. Humans being fed from do get special advantages and special benefits, and we find out that Stefan has been trying to find out what kind of benefits that humans could have just in case they ever need to go out to the open with the humans, just like werewolves were having to do and the Fae have had to do. They can step up and say, hey, this is why we're not just monsters, even though even Stefan believes that they kind of are. He's trying to find a good light in it, and he treats his people a lot better, it seems, than a lot of the other vampires at this point. Most vampires do enjoy killing the people they're feeding from. So Stefan is someone who doesn't kill his people. He tries to make them last as long as possible, will give them freedom after a certain amount of time if they decide that they no longer want to be donors. But most vampires actually enjoy killing their people, and so they do not want to live like Stefan does because they enjoy it too much. New vampires are weak and must feed from a stronger vampire. So a lot of the vampires actually feed from Marcella, and Marcella feeds from them, and that is what sustains them until they are strong enough to live on their own. So again, it doesn't have to be their changer, but it does have to be a stronger vampire who doesn't have to feed from other vampires. Obviously, as Marcella is the head vampire and vampire's blood, we are informed of, might have different qualities. probably makes her stronger as well. It's not as big of a detail on exactly what Marcella gets of the exchange, but she, instead of feeding from humans, feeds from the other vampires. That is her food source. So we've got that. And so we know that also from this that there's only a few select people in Marcella's seed that can be considered a strong vampire. We've got, obviously Stefan, he feeds only from humans. We've got Andre, he feeds from humans. We've got Wolf. But actually quite a few of the vampires do live at the seed and have to be treated from Marcella and get the blood from Marcella. So there's only a couple of really strong vampires and the rest are weaker. We'll see how that affects the future or affects the end of this book. We're going to see if that means anything at this point or not, but it is interesting and it is a very specific content for this world and how vampires work. So at this point, we don't know even what Littleton is feeding from, other than we know he's killed a whole bunch of humans, but does he have to feed from whoever, from Andre, who made him? We don't know if that was his necessary, 100% necessary in order for him to survive, or if his superiority with being a sorcerer helped him ex-nay that, just like Stefan ex-nayed having to be bound by Marcella. It's not 100% clear, but it is an interesting fact, and maybe that is exactly why he has to feed from Andre when Andre comes. All right, then we learn, this is not from talking to Marcella's people, but we learn as we're talking to, Marcy is talking to Andre, that holy ground would kill a vampire. So obviously the tropes of religiousness, we already knew that from Mercy's necklace, that religious, not necessarily religious sayings, but religious symbols and high belief can be a deterrent to vampires. A whole church would actually kill a vampire, and so that is definitely a deterrent. So it's more of another ingredient that we've learned before that we are learning even more proof of, coming and being even more well defined of okay, this is what happens with the necklace, and this is what's going to happen if you actually go into a church. And then we have that vamps believe that speaking evil's name attracts its attention. So vampires, believing themselves to be evil, give nicknames to the strongest ones in order to not draw their attention by calling their names. I think that's very interesting that vampires see themselves as evil. Obviously, people who are not vampires believe vampires are evil. But I think it's interesting that they themselves consider their strong vampires dangerous enough evil to not want to attract its attention. I'm not really sure exactly what that means in terms of psychology of how they think of themselves, whether it just makes it true, whether that's just acknowledging a truth that they know about themselves, if that talks about how it changes the core of a being. I mean, Stefan, obviously, we get hints and pieces that he doesn't believe that he is the person he was before. We'll continue as we continue through books, see how much of himself he feels that he's lost, if we see more ideas about that. But that's a question I'd like to ask you guys. What do you think it means that vampires themselves consider themselves, and especially the strong ones of them, to be evil? Evil's recognizing itself as evil and is afraid of itself at times. What do you think that means? I think it's a very interesting concept. And again, I'm not 100% sure if I know what that means. Maybe we'll find out more in the future. Maybe we won't, but I think it's an interesting discussion and an interesting question. So I'd really, really love it if you would let me know down below exactly what you think. That would be really great. And let me know if you think I missed anything major in the vampire section here. I think I covered all the really big details that we learn about vampires, at least at this point. We will, of course, as we continue through the books, probably learn more, probably have more experience, more complex ideas of these specific things. So let me know what you think down below, if I've missed anything, or how you think things will progress from here and learning about vampires and building the world that has vampires that have these particular traits. And the last main topic I'd like to discuss today is a very short topic. It's about magic and how we see magic being used in this particular set of chapters. And the main thing that we see that's really interesting with magic is pack magic. So obviously, yes, we have witches and they have magic, and we've seen vampires and they have some abilities that would be classified probably under some kind of magic abilities. Not really in the sense that, like, you know, spells and things like that, but just being a vampire gives them this supernatural ability. But we really see pack magic at work, where Mercy, not even actually being Adam's mate, but Adam defining her as his mate to the pack, affects the pack magic, which she's not even a werewolf. So normally if a werewolf has a mate that's not a werewolf, they aren't really in the pack hierarchy. But Adam's claim on Mercy actually puts her in the hierarchy, and that is very, very interesting. She has been given pack status that all the werewolf side of the werewolves recognize. Even, Daryl, who's the pack second, was surprised that Mercy was able to calm down Warren, and that her claim of, or her status in the pack is legit. Daryl's supposed to be the one that's the highest of the pack and be able to control Warren. Though Warren and him are very, very equal in their dominance. But Mercy comes up and finds that she's a step higher in the pack magic that is just transmitted to the wolves. They just know that the magic just lets them know this is the hierarchy. So it's very interesting to find that the rules that even the werewolves think that they follow and that Mercy thinks that they follow have now been changed, and that now suddenly she is in the middle of that magic and she's actually interacting with it, even if it's not anything that she normally has to do other than be herself and tell Warren to settle down. But it is very, very interesting to see that she is affecting things differently than everyone thought. We're going to see how that progresses through the books. We're going to see if she actually decides to be Adam's mate or not. And if she decides not to be Adam's mate and breaks that bond with him, how will that affect the pack magic then? Will she be able to come out of the magic, or will she delve deeper in? We're going to have to find out and see what choices she makes in order to find out how that affects the story as we go forward. And last but not least, let's go ahead and get to our nitty gritty. So, Littleton, despite being a demon, must still be constrained for the vampire's nature. He can't get out of being a vampire. And I think that's interesting. So we've got the sorcerer side and the demon that's inside him, but that demon has to submit to the rules of a vampire. He couldn't enter Mercy's home uninvited. He wouldn't be able to go, according to Andre, into the church unless it was no longer sacred ground. He is contrived, is that the right word? By the same regulations that any vampire would. It doesn't matter that he can do all this extra power and has all this extra strength and has a second nature to him. He must first be defined as a vampire and second as a sorcerer. Why do you think that is? I think that it's super, super interesting. Do you think it would be possible for a vampire to become a sorcerer? And would it still be a vampire nature first, sorcerer second, if it was done in that order? Is it the sorcerer becoming a vampire and that's why the vampire nature is more dominant? Would it work the other way around, or would it still be that the vampire's nature trumps the sorcerer nature? And does that mean that vampire nature is stronger than sorcerer nature? It's really, really interesting how the vampire nature can trump a demon that has infested the soul. And that the demon itself also, obviously, being in that vessel, has to be confined by those rules. What do you think? I would love to know, and we'll see if that matters, or as we continue through this, the end of this book, and to the next book, what that will mean, if it will mean anything at this point. But I just think it's an interesting thing to think about and to wonder about. And then I think it's interesting that no one realized that Adam's claim would give Mercy the status. We already talked about this already, but because she's not a werewolf, she and Adam are breaking new ground by claiming her as his mate. They have done something that seems that's been known to be impossible, and she is obviously something that's not common. Being a walker is not common, so no one's ever tried to claim a walker mate before, at least as far as anybody that Mercy knows. That makes sense. So we're breaking new ground. We're coming into things where we're breaking the rules of society that we already had. The werewolves already had this structure of world building, like this and this and this and this is how werewolves work. And now we have subjected something new to it, and now we're finding that not all the rules apply, at least to Mercy. So we're going to see how that continues to grow, how that continues to change, to see how that affects everything moving forward. All right, so we had quite a bit that happened in these chapters. I feel like I covered quite a bit of good information on it. If there's anything from these chapters that you think that I missed, or anything that you'd like to delve a bit deeper on, anything that you'd like more of opinion on, any questions you want answered, let me know either down below, or you can let me know on Twitter. You can email me, or you can now contact me through our website. Again, hopefully you will check it out. Let me know what you think. Again, let me know any content that you would like to see on there, and be on the lookout for my first full official post. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think it's going to be a review. I am in the process of reading the book that I will do my first review on, but I'm not quite done with it yet, so I might have to put that for the second post and post something else. So go ahead and keep a lookout for that. And yeah, so for the next set of chapters, we're reading chapters 13 to the end of Bloodbound. So we're really close to being done. I hope you are enjoying the story so far and enjoying Mercy and getting into trouble with her, with me, and going on an adventure together. Again, contact me wherever is most convenient for you, and I would love, love, love to have a discussion with you. And I'll see you in the next class. Bye.